This matters deeply. When a child moves faster cognitively than the environment can accommodate, there's a risk of either stagnation due to boredom or withdrawal into purely internal worlds. Conversely, when the environment offers progressively sophisticated and responsive stimuli, the child is likely to experience a profound sense of competence and self-efficacy, reinforcing the natural curiosity that drove them beyond toys in the first place. This makes parenting, teaching, and caregiving a delicate exercise in observation and attunement. It's not about forcing engagement with toys or standard developmental markers, but about noticing the child's inclinations, responding to subtle cues, and providing opportunities that align with their inner world. This might include introducing conceptual games, early coding challenges, imaginative storytelling exercises, or real-world problem-solving tasks, each of which respects and nurtures their accelerated cognitive development. And while this discussion has focused on the cognitive and emotional aspects, there is a deeply social layer as well. Interaction with peers who operate on conventional developmental timelines can create both challenges and opportunities. Some children may experience frustration when friends are absorbed by simple toy-based games, while others may take on mentoring or leadership roles, guiding peers through creative play or collaborative problem-solving. These social dynamics contribute to empathy, communication skills, and the ability to navigate diverse perspectives, skills that are crucial for lifelong adaptation. It is important to highlight that outgrowing toys prematurely does not signify superiority or deficiency. It is simply a divergence in developmental timing and style. The key lies in creating environments that honor this divergence while gently scaffolding growth in domains that may lag behind. Psychologists often emphasize that balance is critical, allowing the child's abstract play and introspection while fostering physical coordination, social reciprocity, and emotional literacy ensures holistic development. The implications extend beyond childhood, influencing how the individual approaches learning, creativity, and problem-solving in adulthood. Someone who has learned to self-direct play and construct internal narratives may excel in fields that require innovation, strategic foresight, or independent thinking. They are likely to approach challenges with a blend of curiosity, persistence, and flexibility, traits that are nurtured by the early experiences of outgrowing conventional play materials. Yet, to maximize these potentials, ongoing encouragement and validation are essential. Adults who recognize the depth of a child's engagement, whether through observation, conversation, or shared creative activity, contribute to the child's sense of competence and belonging, reinforcing intrinsic motivation and resilience. This is where small gestures, asking about their ideas, creating spaces for open-ended exploration, celebrating imaginative solutions, become psychologically profound, supporting not only cognitive growth but also emotional security. Even in adolescence, the patterns established in early encounters with toys and play reverberate. A teenager who once bypassed blocks and dolls may gravitate toward complex simulations, literature, artistic expression, or scientific experimentation, often thriving in contexts that reward self-direction and conceptual mastery. They may also develop a rich inner life, capable of reflection, ethical reasoning, and nuanced understanding of abstract concepts, all rooted in early experiences that emphasized internal over external play. And while society often values tangible achievements, the unseen internal work of these children lays the foundation for capacities that are transformative in subtle yet enduring ways. There's also a connection to motivational psychology. Children who outgrow toys early may be intrinsically motivated learners, driven by curiosity, pattern recognition, and self-generated challenges rather than extrinsic rewards or external validation. This intrinsic motivation fosters deep engagement, perseverance, and an orientation toward mastery rather than performance, qualities that are predictive of long-term satisfaction and achievement. It's worth noting that technology and modern media can both support and hinder these trajectories. Digital tools that offer flexible, exploratory, and conceptually rich experiences may provide a new playground for children whose minds have outpaced traditional toys, while overly structured or passive media consumption can dampen initiative and internal engagement. Thoughtful guidance is required to balance stimulation, choice, and autonomy, ensuring that digital experiences complement rather than replace self-directed mental play. Throughout this psychological landscape, one constant remains: children who outgrow toys before understanding them challenge conventional assumptions about development. They prompt adults to reconsider how play, learning, and curiosity are defined, reminding us that internal exploration, imaginative abstraction, and self-directed challenge are as vital to growth as conventional milestones. In practical terms, this perspective encourages caregivers, educators, and peers to honor unique developmental rhythms, to provide opportunities for conceptual exploration, and to validate the child's inner engagement, even when it defies external expectations. Observing such a child can be mesmerizing. They may appear idle at first glance, yet beneath the surface, there is a rich cognitive and emotional symphony unfolding. Every glance, every fleeting smile, every moment of contemplation is a note in this ongoing process of self-directed discovery. Supporting this process requires patience, attentiveness, and a willingness to engage with invisible worlds of thought, a challenge that is both rewarding and transformative for adults who take the time to see. From a psychological perspective, these children exemplify the delicate balance between environment, cognition, and emotion, demonstrating that human development is not linear but dynamic, asynchronous, and richly individual. Their early experiences with toys, or lack thereof, serve as metaphors for broader developmental principles: the importance of timing, the necessity of responsive scaffolding, and the enduring value of intrinsic motivation. Recognizing and nurturing these tendencies can cultivate not only cognitive agility but also emotional depth, resilience, and creativity. As we reflect on these dynamics, it becomes clear that supporting a child who outgrows toys is not about replacing play with structured lessons or accelerating learning artificially. It is about honoring their capacity for abstraction, curiosity, and self-directed engagement while providing a responsive, enriched environment. Small adjustments, offering challenging puzzles, opportunities for imaginative construction, collaborative projects, or guided inquiry, can align external experiences with internal growth, fostering a sense of agency and competence. The interplay between observation and intervention is subtle but crucial. Adults who intrude too aggressively can disrupt intrinsic engagement, while those who fail to notice may miss opportunities to cultivate talents that might otherwise remain dormant. Here, psychological attunement, an ability to perceive in. Have you ever noticed a child standing in a room full of toys, surrounded by colors, textures, sounds, and possibilities, yet not touching a single one, seemingly disinterested or even bewildered by what's in front of them? There's something profoundly intriguing about children who outgrow their toys before truly understanding them, and the psychology behind it opens a window into how early cognitive and emotional development interacts with curiosity, perception, and social learning. Imagine a child given a complex puzzle, a shiny new action figure, or an intricate building set, yet they glance at it briefly and move on, leaving the object untouched or relegated to a shelf. On the surface, one might think they're simply bored or perhaps spoiled, but the underlying story is far more nuanced. It's about timing, mental readiness, and the subtle interplay between abstract thinking and immediate sensory gratification. Carl Jung once remarked, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect but by the play instinct." And in this context, it becomes evident that play is not merely a behavior but a developmental dialogue between the child's inner world and the outer reality of objects and symbols. For some children, the symbolic meaning of a toy, the idea that a tiny plastic figure can represent a hero or a scenario, does not yet resonate, and this disconnect can create the appearance of detachment or disinterest. It's not that the child lacks curiosity, rather their cognitive map has advanced faster than the affordances of the toys designed for their age. When you observe such a child, you're witnessing a mismatch between developmental trajectory and environmental scaffolding, where conventional toys fail to provide the challenge or engagement their mind secretly craves. Jean Piaget's theories on cognitive development hint at this phenomenon, illustrating that children transition through stages where concrete manipulation of objects is gradually replaced by abstract thought. A child who skips the expected stages or accelerates past them might find traditional toys redundant or trivial, which is why their fascination often turns inward, toward ideas, patterns, stories, or improvisational play that is invisible to the casual observer. This internalized engagement, though silent and solitary, is rich with imaginative activity and problem-solving. Their world might not be full of Legos or dolls, but it is overflowing with internal narratives, hypotheticals, and mental simulations. And here lies a subtle paradox. Society often equates play with engagement with objects, but for a child who outgrows toys prematurely, play becomes a more abstract endeavor, exploring concepts rather than materials. This divergence raises questions about how we, as adults, interpret developmental milestones. Are we too focused on tangible signs of growth rather than internal cognitive leaps? Observing a child with this profile, one can notice patterns. They may spend prolonged periods staring at patterns on walls, imagining the consequences of imaginary scenarios, or creating elaborate rules and structures out of seemingly nothing. To the untrained eye, this may seem like aimlessness, but psychologically, it reflects a sophisticated processing of cause and effect, narrative construction, and anticipation. Lev Vygotsky's idea of the zone of proximal development becomes particularly relevant here, suggesting that children often require just enough challenge to stretch their cognitive capacities. For children who have outgrown typical toys, the ordinary level of play is too easy. They need experiences that match the pace of their internal growth, which often leads them to invent self-directed challenges or immerse themselves in rich mental landscapes. Interestingly, this early divergence can shape personality traits that persist into adolescence and adulthood. The ability to self-entertain, to explore abstract ideas independently, and to navigate complex internal worlds fosters creativity, critical thinking, and emotional resilience. At the same time, there is a risk. Without appropriate external guidance or social reinforcement, the child may feel isolated or misunderstood, as peers and adults may not recognize the depth of their engagement. This dissonance between external perception and internal experience often triggers a reflective, contemplative personality. They may not express excitement in ways that are socially conventional, but internally, they are constantly negotiating meaning, experimenting with ideas, and anticipating outcomes. Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences resonates here as well, because children who bypass the conventional toy stage may exhibit heightened capacities in logical, mathematical, linguistic, or intrapersonal intelligences, rather than the kinesthetic or interpersonal intelligences that are typically nurtured through traditional play. And yet, despite these differences, the social environment continues to exert influence. Children are remarkably sensitive to the reactions of adults and peers. If a child is consistently met with confusion or impatience regarding their unique engagement style, they may adapt by masking their interests or by developing solitary coping mechanisms, which in turn reinforces the pattern of abstract internal play over external, socially oriented play. Observing such patterns offers a valuable lens into the dynamic interplay between nature and nurture, and the subtle ways in which developmental trajectories are shaped not only by intrinsic capabilities but also by the responsiveness and flexibility of the surrounding environment. There is also an emotional dimension. Children who outgrow toys quickly may experience frustration or boredom when faced with repetitive, low-stimulation tasks, and conversely, may show heightened satisfaction and focus when confronted with novel challenges that align with their mental schema. This selective engagement is a hallmark of asynchronous development, where different domains of cognition and emotion do not progress uniformly. Carl Rogers' humanistic perspective adds depth to this discussion, emphasizing that a child's capacity for self-directed growth is facilitated when their environment supports exploration without judgment. A child who outgrows toys may flourish when provided with intellectually or creatively stimulating alternatives, storytelling, open-ended projects, early exposure to scientific concepts, or opportunities for problem-solving that transcend mere manipulation of objects. Yet, one must balance stimulation with emotional support. Overstimulation or pressure to conform to normative play expectations can hinder confidence and curiosity, producing anxiety or disengagement. It's fascinating to consider how these early tendencies manifest in learning and identity formation later on. Children who have outgrown conventional play often develop strong metacognitive skills. They are able to think about thinking, anticipate consequences, and structure complex projects before ever being asked to do so. These skills translate into academic and creative pursuits, where independent initiative and strategic thinking are highly valued. However, because these traits emerge in unconventional ways, they may be underappreciated or misunderstood in traditional educational settings. One critical insight from developmental psychology is that the timing of exposure to challenge,